Sunday night. I'll just wait for the notification to send everyone a message that I've just gone live. You should just take some moment. And I'm just going to double check that it's showing up where it should be. How has everyone's weekend been? It's Sunday night, so here in Australia, people are getting ready to go back to work tomorrow, whatever that might look like. Depending on where you are in Australia, it's a public holiday tomorrow in several of our states. So tomorrow being Monday, the 4th of October, is a public holiday for some, Labor Day here. So I know not every state has that, but I think most states have it. So when you pop on, please say hello. I'd love to see who's live with me here tonight. I'm just going to, like I said, double check and make sure that it's showing up as it should be. I see there's a couple of people here already, so that's a good sign. Yeah. Hi, Sol. How you going? I see you going by Sol here, and I've been calling you Sol Vega, so I hope calling you Sol is okay. Is that all right? Or do you prefer the full name? Hey there, Jenny. Nice to see you. Okay. So once I click over in here, it means it's easier for me to see comments. And now I can see Judy and Kay and Margaret. Good evening. Hello. Either way, you don't mind. I don't like to call people, take liberties if people prefer not to be called something. Okay, so I'm holding this with my left hand, have my right hand free. And every now and then I switch because my hand gets tight, my arm gets tired. And then I put the phone into the holder so I don't have to worry about that at all. So yesterday, I know some of you joined me yesterday yesterday was World Card Making Day. And so we had a Zoom for some of my customers and some of my team who all popped on, and we made some stuff together and just chatted and spent a couple of very nice hours enjoying each other's company, which I thought was lovely. So I hope you guys who were here yesterday enjoyed that too. And maybe you got inspired. Maybe you got to see some things. I'll show you the finished card. This is the card I was making yesterday, and I finished it. And it actually turned out really, really well. That was just stamping. So that's not pattern paper. It's actually just stamping on a white background to create that look. So I was really, really happy with how it turned out. So we'll get going with something new tonight. I'm going to show you something I haven't showed you before because I only just got it. So let's get the camera turned around and get started. Give me a second. Oh, you get to see my messy... Look, there's me. Hello. The reflection. I noticed I wasn't sure tonight being the first night of daylight saving here in some states. I'm in New South Wales, so we just switched over to daylight saving last night. And I was thinking it might still have been a little bit light at this time, but it actually is quite dark outside. So it's still going to be a few more weeks before it's still light at 7:30 at night. Okay, all right, so anyone do anything fun on the weekend? It's actually my daughter's 19th birthday today, so being in lockdown, we didn't have a lot of options, but I had some, she loves pastries and danishes and things like that. So I had some pastries and danishes we had for morning tea or for brunch this morning, which was really, really lovely. And then we also had, what else do we have? I made a tiramisu because that's, instead of a birthday cake, she said she'd like a tiramisu, so I made one of those. And then for dinner, it's actually been a pretty easy day for me. I mean, apart from making tiramisu, danishes and pastries for breakfast. I mean, I didn't have to make any breakfast. And for dinner, we had Thai takeaway because that was her choice. So, yeah, it was pretty nice. I had a nice day. Thank you. I'm sure did you enjoy it, Ellen? Did you have fun with I know you did a Zoom as well, your World Card Making Day Zoom. So was that fun? Did you have a few people join you? All right, I'm going to page 20 tonight to play with something I haven't played with yet. And that is this set here, and it's called the Words of Cheer bundle. Okay, and you'll see I didn't pay a lot of attention to it at first because, you know, it looks fairly generic, really. I mean, we've got some nice greetings. We've got, you know, got some little sort of poinsettia looking flowers, and we've got some leaves, and then we've got this kind of line drawing Christmassy kind of a thing happening here. But what I really loved about this is the dies. So I've brought those over to show you. Here's the stamp set. It's called Words of Cheer. As a bundle, the whole thing, you get 10% off when you buy them as a bundle. So instead of $91, which is what they're worth, it's $81.75. So there you go. Now, Christmas Cheer dies is what these are called, and there's quite a lot in there. There's 12, but you'll see, and the reason I got, can anyone tell me the reason I got these straight up? All right, so we've got the word cheer, like a vertical cheer, and we've got one just plain, and we've got one that is got like little leaves coming out from it. And in fact, there's a sample here that you can see it. Can you see this one here? It's got the cheer, and it's got these little leaves coming off from it. And it's actually really pretty. And when I saw that, I thought, ooh, that looks like a rather nice thing to play with. And then the other thing, the real reason I got this, who's being noisy? Oh, that's all right. The reason that I actually bought this though is because I love this word happy here, either the plain happy or the one with the leaves. And I'm thinking scrapbooking. So if you're a scrapbooker, I'm always on the hunt for big words in my scrapbooking, and particularly both stamps and dies. If you have big words that can translate really well to scrapbooking, I think it makes a really big difference. And there's things you can do with this. There's also this great little row of little punched circles, which I think looks really nice, and I can see that being really nice on a scrapbook page as well. So there's quite a lot of possibilities with these, and so that's why I grabbed them. I had some free dollars on an order to spend, and I thought, right, I'm going to grab myself some of those. I like what they've done here with this little sample too. They've actually used one of the sentiments. Which one have they used? The Christmas cheer. This one, sending you Christmas cheer. They've randomly stamped that over the background to create a background effect, which I think is a really nice idea. I actually really like words used as a background. I think that's really quite classy. So we've got the dies with the big words. I love the happy. And then we've also got this line drawing stamp. And I'm going to do a couple of cards with this tonight. I've only got a very vague idea, as usual, of what I want to do. And I've only just opened these, so I haven't even had them off the paper yet. It is a photopolymer stamp set, so that's why I've got my mat out, so that I can have a good stamping surface. And block D is going to be a little bit small for this one, so we're going to go with block E, this one here. So let's start with that. My first card is going to be really simple. I'm not going to have a late night tonight for a couple of reasons. One, I've got to be picking my husband up early in the morning, like I do that early thing. And because we lost an hour of sleep last night, because we went forward an hour with our clocks, I'm not going to have a late night tonight. So I'm going to go, this might be, we'll see. Sometimes they say it's going to be a shorter session, and then I end up, talking too much, and it's as long as it always is. So let's see. All right, I'm going to start with a piece of just Whisper White cardstock, and I'm actually going to cut this down. I think I'm just going to start with a really simple stamped card. All right, and we might do a bit of colouring as well, but we're just going to mostly do very simple. So I'm going to do this in the Evening Evergreen, because this is a really nice, this is the darkest green we've had for a long time, Evening Evergreen. And I like to use very dark colours such as this one or Early Espresso, which is the really dark brown, to stamp a line drawing stamp instead of black. Okay, now black is fine, but sometimes it can be a bit harsh. And so if you want something a tiny bit softer, then a dark green like this or a brown is a little bit more soft. And I think that's a nice look. I don't want the lines to be too overwhelming. So there we go. I've just stamped that really simply on there. Now I'm deciding whether I'm going to actually keep this card full size or whether I'm going to cut it down to a square. I might do this one as a square card because I quite like having a square card at times. All right, so for this, I'm going to pull out a couple of my blending brushes. Now, sorry, not blending brushes, what am I saying? Blender pens, that's what I mean. Silly, silly. I have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of blender pens. I have them all over the place, and I'll just pull out a couple. The thing about blender pens is if you've used them for a color before, you can run them off on a piece of paper. If I put it on my hand, I can feel the glycerin solution that's in this. If it feels wet when I rub it on the back of my hand, then it's not too dry and I can use it. It's great. So they do last for years and years. But if you ever go onto the back of your hand like this and you cannot feel that it's wet or cold, then it's probably seen the end of its life. So you always check first to make sure that it's wet. And then you run it on a piece of paper to see that there's no colour left behind from whatever you did last time. I'm just going to see. One of these is white, I know. See, this one's white. Can you see that? So I will keep that one for white. I'm going to pop that aside. And you've got two ends to play with. See, that one's getting a little bit dry. This end is better. I'm going to use that end. All right, and I'm going to just start by making sure there's no colour left on there from last time. So you can use them multiple times with different colours. I'm just going to make this a pretty classic kind of a thing, and I'm thinking I'm going to colour these in red and then just do a really simple colouring. So shall we go with real red, which is quite red, or we go with cherry cobbler, which is more of a blood red, a dark red? Does anyone have any thoughts on that? You've only had one dry out after 10 years, Ellen. That's really, really good, isn't it? Gosh, everyone's commenting all over the place tonight. Sorry, I should keep up. Sorry, I need to be looking. The word dies, Judy. You were saying something about those, and I think I maybe missed what you were saying. I'll see if I get to it. I think, Bronwyn, you were with Pip Tobin's group. Yes, you said that. Did you enjoy it? I think it was just fantastic. That was Zooms going all yesterday, and people all over the world were joining in for World Card Making Day, and I just think that was fantastic. So it was really, really nice. Is it me or am I blurred? Do I look blurry to anyone else? Or is it just to Subu? I wonder. Because real red or cherry cobbler? So the first person to answer my question was Judy with cherry. Combo of both. Yeah, okay. Well, seeing as people are voting for both real red and for cherry, maybe that's a good idea. Let's try it. It's quite blurry and your sound is very low. All right, let me try putting my AirPods in and let's see if that helps, because sometimes that helps. Let's see. All right. And I'm going to turn off my sound on my computer. So some people are saying it's good and some people are saying it's blurry. I wonder what's going on there. How can we be both? I don't get it. Right, so here's my cherry cobbler and here's my real red. Okay, so the real red is probably going to give us a more fresh, it's more of a fire engine red, really, isn't it? And then this is going to, I would think if we're going for more of a vintagey kind of a look, we might be better with the cherry cobbler. But let's start with that, and then we'll go and see what we. So you can see I've already used this before, and to get this onto here, so I'm using the lid like a palette, I've just given it a really hard squeeze. Okay, so if you give it a squeeze, it will actually end up on your lid so that you can then pick the color up from here. If you don't like doing this, if you don't like dirtying your lids, then grab yourself a block, because this is a nice alternative as well. Just a little block, and pop it into the ink, and then you pick up your color from here. So it really doesn't matter. I'm going to start now. Why am I doing this and not using blends, you ask? Well, blends are another option, but I just thought I'd do something different today. If you either don't want to go down the blends rabbit hole, or you're not real sure about it, you know, this blender pens are a great place to start, because you just get to use your inks like pens basically. And so the thing with the blender pens though is that they're very even. Okay, you're going to get a very consistent look with those, Blender pens are going to give you more of a washed out look because you can see as I'm going the color fades. And I kind of, depending on the day, I kind of like both looks. So sometimes I like to color with these to get that variegated kind of a look. I like the look of some faded, some strong. And then other days I want it to be really, really precise and uniform, and that's when I'll bring out my blends. But this is kind of giving us a different, almost a bit of a watercolory kind of a look. And of course that's another option too. You could use your aqua pens or your water pens and use those to give you more of a watercolored look. So there's lots and lots of colouring options. The other option that I do sometimes go to and really need to do more often is watercolour pencils. Oh my gosh, now we have pastels. There's just too many colouring choices, I think. But they've all got their place and they will all give you different looks and different effects. So I hope that you can see this is giving us quite a... I like the inconsistency of this method. But if you don't like that, then you might want to stick to blender pens. Can you see how some of it's looking, I'll hold it up closer, some of it's looking more more dark, more light? Yeah, I wonder why people are saying they can't see properly. Huh, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, one thing I could do is try try wiping over the camera and just see if it's actually, see if I can do anything with that. So give me a second and I'm going to do that. You'll just see nothing for a second. Oh, that's a good bit of advice, Annette. Advice? It says that she was blurred but changed her setting to 720 on YouTube and it's good now. So that's changing the definition. So interesting. Why am I not coming through? Can you guys, am I frozen to anybody? Or is it just, huh, that's interesting. Am I frozen, guys? I improve sound and visual now because on my screen it's actually frozen. So that's really interesting. So I'll just keep going. If you guys tell me it's fine, but I cannot actually see my own screen. It's actually completely frozen. So that's, I don't know, technology, right? So what I'm trying to do is get it more faded out as I go back, sort of more dark in the middle. So I'm going to make this one dark. Okay, so that's the cherry cobbler. And I guess now that I've got this, refresh my computer. Okay. Has that ever happened to you, Ellen, that it freezes at your end, but not for anybody else? That might be all right now. Thank you. Thank you. Good, 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 good. All right. So I'm just going to quickly color these in. I'll do these a bit more quickly than I did the first one. Yes, we are spoilt. You were saying we're spoilt with coloring tools. Is that what you were saying? I think that's what you read, what I read. Yeah. Oh, Bronwyn, you were saying, so spoilt for choice with coloring tools. Indeed, we are. I just think it's, there's so many options, so people can really choose the ones that make the most sense to them. But I have to say that I do have my favorites. So, and it depends on my mood. It's nice having a couple of options. What are your favorites? Does anyone out there want to say what their favorite coloring tools are? And are there any that you'd like to try that you haven't tried yet? Whoops, I'm just going to scroll down. I see that people are commenting and I'm missing it. It happens to you as well. It's not happened to me before, so I guess I've just been lucky. So, I was asking the question before, did anyone do anything interesting on the weekend? I mean, we've had birthdays here and hubby's been working all weekend. This is his last night of night shift, so I'm happy that, though I've got to go pick him up in the morning, I'm not so happy about that, but it does mean that. So the reason that I have to go pick him up and I've got to get up at 4:30 in the morning to go get him is because he drives a work vehicle. He's a security patrolman. He drives a work vehicle all night, and then at the end of his 4 nights in a row, he has to return the car to the other patrolman who takes over. So I go and pick him up from the other guy's house. So he drops the car off there and then I pick him up and we come home together. So that's the reason why. And normally we wouldn't have to do that, except because of lockdown. One of the things with lockdown is there's no carpooling. So unless you're members of the same family, you're not allowed to be in a car together. And that's why I've got to go get him, because in the past, the other patrol guy used to drop the car here. Okay, they would one would pick up the other and they drop the other one off to the other one's house, but you can't do that at the moment. So that's the reason why we've been doing this funny little arrangement early in the morning on the nights that he ends shift. Oh, you made lots of cards, Kane. That's good. Did you get some made while we were on Zoom yesterday? Or no, you weren't on the Zoom, were you? Or were you? No, you weren't. You like the blends, but you want to get the pastels. The pastels are a totally different thing, Jenny. I have a soft spot for pastels because many, many years ago, I did a fine arts certificate, like in my youth, let's say that. Or it was actually my late 20s. So I did a fine arts certificate, and pastels was probably my favorite medium to work with. And I've actually got a couple of paintings around the house here that I've made that were ones I did years and years ago. There we go. I'm going to call those flowers done. They look quite nice. What do you think? So it's kind of I'm just holding it up so you get a look. It's kind of a light and dark effect, and don't look too close, but I think they look pretty good. There we go. Stitched your Elvis. Now, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you did there, Judy. You don't have to explain that comment. Blends always. You're a blends girl, Ellen. Yeah, I get it. I do. All right. Okay, so I'm going to use the other end of my pen. And I'm going to go with soft succulent because this is part of the same in color group as the evening evergreen. So the dark green, here, I'll show you. Oh, no, I won't. Yes, I will. The dark green here, and these two are from the same color groups, which is the most recent in color group that was released this year. And I really love how they work together. And you'll usually find that with the color groups that they do work very well together. So I'm going to give this a squeeze and get some ink on here. There we go. And I'm just going to color in some of my leaves. So this will be a little bit like the other one in that there'll be some light leaves, some dark leaves. The more I do it, the lighter they get. And we're not going to spend a lot of time. The good thing about these is they're very portable way of getting your inks to do double duty. So I do rather like. And the lighter ink looks so nice. This soft succulent looks so good with the evening evergreen. They look so good together. Does anyone else have to hold their tongue funny when they're colouring? I always find it really almost amusing whenever I run a class and there's colouring in the class. You can bet your life it's colouring and cutting. They're the two things. You can bet your life everyone's going to go real quiet. I always find it's funny, and if you look around, there might be a few people using, holding their tongues funny, tongues poking out their mouths while they concentrate really hard. I've never really understood how that helps anyone concentrate, but gee, a lot of people do it. You stitch as well. Ah, there you go. Now it's making a bit more sense. So is it like a portrait? An Elvis portrait? I did not grow up with Elvis. My mother didn't like him, and so we never had anything Elvis in our house. And then, but I still remember, I think I was in year 7 at high school the day Elvis died. And I remember other girls in the class crying, and I remember thinking, "What's all that about?" So I don't have strong Elvis memories in my life. So this is kind of coming to life, this little stamp, while we colour in the different bits of it. It's starting to take on a little bit more dimension, if you like. And I'm just deciding, but I'm actually going to go with a bit of a rogue colour, which is one of my favourites. I'm thinking I'm going to go pool party for the little um, berries. I mean, that's probably a bit weird, but let's try it. Let's see how it goes. So if I wanted to, I just run this off and make sure there's no more green left because I'm still using the same one. Ah, see, there you go, Judy. See, some people grew up with Elvis and some people didn't. And I'm one of the ones that didn't. I went out one night. A friend of mine had a 70th birthday. She's actually the aunt of a very dear friend, and she's become a friend as well. And she invited me to her 70th, and we all went. We were all ferried on buses to an undisclosed location, and it turned out to be an Elvis night, and it was a lot of fun. There we go. All right, I'm happy with that. The only thing I might want to add to this maybe is if I have some here, and I usually do have some, is maybe a bit of Wink of Stella. Now, here's something else. Wink of Stella is really great to use over the top of, just making sure there is actually some in there, because this one's been around for a while. There is a little, but it's not particularly, you can actually go over it and it will not only refresh your color, but add a bit of sparkle in the middle there. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, there's not a lot here. I need to get actually, I do have a new Wink of Stella. I probably should open that up. And you'll see the difference if I do. Here we go. All right, so here you go. I'm going to give you a Wink of Stella lesson. Okay, for those of you who've never used Wink of Stella, there's actually a couple of things you need to know about these. So you take them out of the packet, and when the first thing you do is you take the lid off, obviously, and then you unscrew it. Okay, you take the whole tip off. And you've got to do this before you start, or it won't work. And you'll be thinking, why is my Wink of Stella not working? So take that whole top off, and then see this little black kind of ring around the middle? Take that off and discard it. That black ring is stopping the mechanism that is in here that pokes down into here to get the solution to flow. So once you take that off, then you're actually then pushing this down into it. It kind of breaks the seal. So make sure it's on nice and tight. And then on the side here, it's almost like you need a lesson before you use this stuff. On the side here is the word push. Okay, so what we do is we give it a push. And what I want you to do is I want you to watch if you can see it in here. Is that close enough? When I give that a push, I can hear it. It's making a noise. And what starts to happen, it's starting to come. Can you see that some of it is starting to come into here? Now we don't want to push too much, because if we push too much, we can actually make it that the whole lot pushes out the end. So none's come through yet, so I'm being a bit careful. So keep pushing. Now I can see the solution coming through. So I can actually see it. And then now, can you see it's actually come out the end? I'm going to use that and pick it up. But that's why you just make sure you have a piece of paper or something like that underneath. You don't want to push too hard. Now, this is going to be a lot more noticeable this time because it's fresh. and there's a big blob of it. So once you've got it flowing, it'll come out, and it's really, really nice. I'm going to use this bit here as well. So this is going to make our flowers all sparkly. Wink Stella is clear, sparkly fluid that you can put over the top of your images and over the top of your bits. I don't know if you can see it. I can see it. Can you see it? Maybe not. A little bit of shine there, but it's really quite striking, and it looks really, really great on a dark background. I really love Wink Stella. I think it's beautiful. It adds a beautiful little bit of sparkle to just about everything that you might put onto paper. And I know it's hard to see it, but it is actually sparkly on there now. Okay, can you see it? I'm just reading you through all your funny comments. You guys say so many things that I can't keep up. Too busy for cards on Saturday. Too busy. Well, busy is good, right? Oh, that sounds dangerous, Jenny. Just looking through comments quickly. Yes, I am older than your husband. That is correct. I am. Not by much, but I am. Well, let's hope that's not for a long time, Judy. That's what I'd like to say. All right. So I could leave it just like this, but I'm actually going to cut this down. And I'm going to cut it down to how far? 9 centimeters. And I'm going to go over this side, and I'm going to go 9 as well. And I'm going to make a little square card. And I'm just deciding which way I'd like it to go, whether I want to go this way. Probably not. I think either this way, going up from the corner, or this way, going up this way. Look, it doesn't really matter. It's pretty. Okay, so we didn't end up using the real red. Sorry about that. But I think the cherry cobbler looks rather nice. It's rather good. All right, I'm going to have a quick look and see what colors I would like to use this. Because I've got the soft succulent on there, I'm thinking maybe the soft succulent might be a good base. It's a good general kind of neutral green, really. It's this one. And the reason I've gone with this size, for anyone who's wondering, so I went for 9. So I'm going to make this square behind here 9.5. So it's going to be the next size up. I actually really love this trimmer. We've been through so many trimmers over the years, but I've been actually pretty happy with this one. It does seem that the blades seem to last longer. Has anyone else had a similar experience? Let's pop this on. So I'm just using my seal there. We talked all about seal the other night too. If you've tried seal and you weren't happy with it, my advice as per Friday night is to remember that it's not snail. It's used differently to snail. You use it. In fact, Ellen was the one who helped me get mine working properly because I went through a roll and wasn't happy. I ended up throwing my first roll away, which is very disappointing. But if you actually roll it and then lift it at the end when you do it, it works much better. So I'm actually going to put this onto just a piece of white. And this is a standard white card base. But I'm going to cut it down to 9.9. Okay, and the reason why I do this size is because if you wanted to get 3 cards out of one piece of cardstock, you could make 3 square cards, and they are each 9.9 centimeters wide, and that way you'll perfectly get 3 out of a piece of A4 cardstock. So for those people doing metric, I find that's quite a useful way to go. So this one's going to go here. And we're just going to, like I said, we're going to keep this really, really simply stamped. We're not going to do anything, too magic with this. So I'm thinking I might even just stamp my greeting straight on. Usually I would put it up and put it on a banner and pop it up. But for this time, I'm just going to, and I think I will go with the sending Christmas cheer because that's a nice size sentiment. And because I've got soft succulent here and I've done my colouring in soft succulent, I'm thinking I'm going to use my evening evergreen for the sentiment. It'll stand out a little bit better. So this is a super, super simple card. And then we're going to go with another card with the same set, but we're going to do something different. Okay, so I'm just going to ink this up. Sending you Christmas cheer. And let's pop it here in the corner. Sorry about my head coming in, guys, but I need to so that I can line that up. There we go, just like that. And then that will go on that little white card base that I just cut. I'll move this out of the way. Oh, there it is. And this is going to be the perfect size for this. So just show you again what I was talking about with the seal. So you roll it along and then lift it at the end. So it snaps it off, because what you want to avoid is if you just roll it along and then lift it, what happens, and this is my example, can you see the bit of like mozzarella cheese glue coming off there? Can you see that? All right, that's what you want to avoid, because when that snaps back up into the mechanism, that's when things start to gum up and not work so well. So that's actually what you don't want. You're trying to avoid that. So to avoid that, you roll it and then lift it, and then you don't get that bit of string. You don't get that stringy adhesive. So, and it's ready to go again. So I find once you get the hang of doing that, it works so well. It's really, really very easy. All right, there we go. Simple little card, just nicely coloured. If you were feeling a little bit adventurous, you could also get your blender pens and, throw on some extra colour. I mean, that would be very easy to do. In fact, I could even do that. So I've actually got a blender pen here. I've had a bit of Bermuda Bay on that, but I could get my pool party. And believe it or not, even though we've already coloured, I'm not going to wreck anything because this colour is light. And I could just sort of come around in here and add a little bit more colour. And I do like a bit more colour in my background. So I'm kind of avoiding the flowers a little bit, but it doesn't matter because they're so dark, it won't make a huge difference. There we go. Look at that. I think it's really nice. Very happy with that. Simple. All right, let me go back and see if I've missed any important comments. Yes. Well, the thing is, Judy, we always, wish we were a decade ago or the one before that or the one before that. But the truth is we are where we are and we're exactly where we're meant to be. So, yep, just embrace, like you say, embrace that age that you're at, and enjoy it, because one day you'll be another decade down the track. I don't mean to be depressing, but, then you'll be looking back at where you are now and wishing you could be back there. So we always want what we don't have, right? If I have straight hair, I want curly hair and vice versa. Just seems to be the way. Yeah, I know. The blades last a long time, Bronwyn. I've been very, very happy with my trimmer. It's been fantastic. Just having a little look through. Everyone's talking about age tonight. 246 days in lockdown. That's not a good record to have, really, is it, Jenny? Yeah. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to pop that one aside. And move this out of the way. And I'm thinking for the next one, I've got a couple of ideas of what I'd like to do. I'd like to maybe use, I like the happy, and I like the fact that you can use the happy with Christmas. So you go happy holidays, happy Christmas. You can make little bits and pieces out of this. So it's kind of cool. And I do really like what they did, like I said before, with that background where they put the sending Christmas cheer, or you can have any of these backgrounds really,
sort of randomly over the background to create a little background. But I have another idea in mind today, something else. So some of you may remember a while ago I did a whitewashed card with the magnolias. Does anyone remember those? And I thought I could do something similar, but with this little stamp set and make it more of a Christmassy theme. So I'm just going to grab a piece of crumb cake, because crumb cake's a great color. Actually, no, will I use crumb cake? I don't know. There's other colors that look really, really good with this. Another good color would be Misty Moonlight. That would be really interesting. But crumb cake is good because it's a neutral. Let me have a look and see if I've got a big enough piece. I think I'll go... I'm going to go with 9.5. Take that edge off. So I'm just going to bring this piece here. And like I said, kind of have a vague idea in my head, making it up as I go along, because as you guys know, that's how I roll. So I'm going to be stamping in Versamark. Versamark is great if you're doing like embossed images, that kind of thing. And I do use it a lot. So if you're going to be doing embossing, Versamark is your friend. And I'm also going to do, I think, what color will I use? I'm thinking maybe gold embossing today. So that's what I did with the magnolias. But really, I could use any color. I could, depending on what color base I'm using. I think gold looks good with the crumb cake. But depending on what color your base is, you might want to use silver. You might even want to use white. Although I like the contrast between the white ink and the metallic. So let's pop this on and see how we go with this. For those of you who haven't, there's a whole bunch of things you can do with white ink. White ink is one of my favorite things. I love it on all kinds of materials, and it's a really cool medium. You can add color to it. It looks good on dark backgrounds. It's a wonderful thing, white ink. And I'm thinking, just because I can, I might do a little bit at the top of this as well. And I'm just going to do a little bit over the edge. There we go, just like that. So we're going to do this embossing in gold. So I'll be bringing in my heat tool in a minute. I've been doing a bit of embossing lately. Let me pour this on. So anyone not seen, I'm sure you've all seen an embossing demo. But anyone not seen it? It's like magic the first time you see embossing. It's very, very special. Just getting rid of any excess powder. All right, and I'll pop this back in here to be used again another time. Pop on the lid so I don't knock it over, because that's not fun when you do that. And I'm going to grab my little brush, handy dandy brush that I keep handy for this exact purpose, and get rid of any excess powder that's still sitting on the page here. Okay, that's not looking too bad. Pretty happy with that. All right, so I'm going to bring in my heat tool. I'm not far behind you, Cindy. I've got a few years, but not many. Not that far. That's not a good statistic for people to be hearing overseas, Sharon. I'm feel really bad for my Melbourne friends, because it's not their fault. It's just the way things have gone this time. And I wouldn't have guessed that either, Cindy. Same as what Bronwyn said. That's cool. All right. So I'm just going to pop this down. Now, something important for me to tell you. Yesterday was World Card Making Day. I know lots of you know this. But guess what this week is? What is this week coming? Anyone know? I'm waiting for someone to tell me. The week after World Card Making Day is what? Yes, Michelle, it's World Sending Card Week. So we had the World Card Making Day yesterday, and now we're into the Sending Week, which means all those lovely things that you made yesterday, or some that you might happen to have lying around in your stash, and I know we all do, right? We're going to send some cards. I challenge you to send some cards this week. Never too late, Rose. That's just fine. Yep, you guys are right. Let's get those cards out and put some happy mail in people's mailboxes. So what I'm doing here is I'm heating the powder that I popped onto my stamped image. And because the Versamark is a sticky ink, the powder sticks to it, and then you can heat it and it cooks. Almost done. So when it's cooked, it goes hard and shiny. The metallics are the easiest to see. So gold, silver, copper are all really easy to see. And hopefully you can see how that's kind of shiny when I hold it in the light. Can you see that? Oh, see, perfect, Rose. You're off to a good start. Ooh, that sounds good. Want to see that, Bronwyn? Good on you, Judy. That's great. Yeah, I feel sorry for Melbourne too. But you know what? They've done amazing. It's been a tough year or so. Here in our numbers, thankfully, our numbers here in New South Wales are dropping. I'm so grateful for that. All right, so now I get to color it, and there's a number of options. Now, remember before I told you that I had a white blender pen here that's got some white ink on it. You can, if you want to, color with your blender pens, and it gives you a really, so we're doing the blender pen thing tonight. So this is just with white ink and just straight on. See how good that looks? I'll just hold that up so you can see it. So that's a possibility, and we can color in any bits that obviously need to be colored. So I've got my white ink pad here, which is one of these, Whisper White Craft ink. White craft ink is a pigment ink as opposed to all of our other main colors, which the normal colored inks, the classic ink pads, are water-based. Okay, so pigment ink is a different animal altogether. It is sticky, so embossing powder sticks to it, but it's also great for getting full coverage over different things. So I can see I'm starting to run out of ink on here now. So what I want to do is I want to open my ink pad. Now, if you buy one of these ink pads, it comes uninked. Okay, so the pad comes empty with no ink on it, and it comes with a refill. And you add the refill. Usually, I've heard up to half a tube of it to actually fill the pad. Okay. And the reason why is we had a lot of trouble with ink, especially here in Australia in our humid conditions. Ink was leaking out of the white pads, particularly. The vanilla was the same. We had issues with that, and they don't even make the vanilla anymore because that got so bad. But the white, being such an important tool or resource, they wanted to keep being able to offer it. So they decided that the best thing to do was to offer it uninked, and that's how it now goes. So we don't have any more problems with leaking white ink pads in the mail or in shipping, but it does mean you have to fill them yourself. Okay, I find that most of the color, the white ink, pools around the edges or the corners of the pad, so that's why I pick up from that corner. I'll always go to a corner to pick up more ink on my little piece here on my pen. So I'm just going to go around and color in all these little bits. Now, other options, if you don't have a blender pen, you can also use a white gel pen to color in these bits. I'm a big fan of white gel pens. We used to sell those, but we don't have them anymore. I recommend if you're going to use a white gel pen, you use a Uniball gel pen. I've found they're the best. And the broad tip, not the narrow tip, but the broad tip is the one you want for coloring. So just a couple of tips they sell them at Bunnings, by the way. But I mean, we have them here. We don't have gel pens anymore, but we still have blender pens, and they do, as you can see, a really great job. And it's just a nice look against the white. Right, so I've sort of gone around. Now I could just leave it like that, and it actually looks really nice. Okay, and just do the same up here. Do all the little white bits up here on this one. That would look good as well. You can see how easy it is to do. Pick up a bit more white every now and then. But I am thinking I'd like to do some white here. So I'm actually going to do a couple of different ways to show you. So just say I pick, and what I'm trying to do is to stay away from the embossed, like I'm coloring inside the embossed images. But if you do get any white ink sitting on top of the embossing, because it will come off if you wipe it, you just want to take to your project with like a dry tissue or dry bit of cloth and wipe over it when you're done to get rid of any ink that's sitting on top of the embossing itself. All right, so I'm just colouring here. Now, this is pretty simple and looks pretty nice, but here's another option. Another option is you can use what I call the whitewash technique. And what you would do with this, I'm just making sure there's some water in there. I believe there is. Yep, there is. All right, and that's where we actually give this one a squeeze, the same way that we gave the other one a squeeze. Okay, and then we've got some ink coming here. Or you can do what we did before, and sometimes I think this is more successful. Get some white ink on here, and then use your wet pen to pick up some white. Okay, now this is a quicker way to do this, but it doesn't give you quite the concentration of color. But I just want to show you it's very, very quick. So you can see that with the water pen, the white goes on really, really quickly. But because it's more wet, it dries a little bit lighter. But it looks good while it's wet. But it doesn't really matter. You can go either way. So there's a couple of options for you if you're colouring with white. And because this is quick, I'm just going to quickly run over this. And the embossing itself will resist your white. And if there is any colour left on the actual embossing, you can just wipe it off. So, but it's a nice technique. That video I did with the whitewashing on the Magnolia stamp is one of my most successful videos ever. Everyone loved that one. Do you know what my most successful video ever is, guys? It's a minion card that I made years and years and years ago. I think about 2013, I think I made that minion card. And at the time, I guess minions were kind of trendy or trending at that time. And so um, I've had 32,000 people look at that video, which I know it's not as many as some people have, 100,000 or more, but that's the most I've ever had. And it was, you're successful when somebody else copies your stuff. Because there was a Chinese company that came out and I used dies for mine. They didn't. They just cut it all up by hand. But they've had over 1 million views for exactly the same. It's actually my project down to the last little bit. So they didn't use dies, but it's the same. It's the same project. There's a copy. I'm thinking, well, that sucks. How come I got 32,000 and they got 1 million? But anyway. All right, so you can see if I want a bit more white to go in and pick it up like a little bit more concentrated, It's a nice look though, isn't it? Isn't it a nice look? I like this. All right. I'm going back to see, oh, people getting upset about Bunnings. Let me see. Oh gosh, guys, so many comments. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Um, Now, are you talking to wanting to spend time with me, Bronwyn, or is that somebody else? Because I'd love to spend time with you too. Yeah, people separated from their grandkids. That's no fun. Hey there, Tina. Nice to see you there. Yeah, the chalk pen's another idea. You can use that for your white as well. Um, my husband spends, I think sometimes we should start paying rent at Bunnings. My husband spends so much time there, it's not funny. All right, just going to go over this. And there's not much more to do. So you can just leave it like this. With the whitewashing, see what I mean about how now it's faded a bit more? So this one that I did, I can't remember which one I did where, but the one I did with the blender pens is more um, noticeable, like it hasn't faded as much. And like all the berries and things that I did with the blender pens, those haven't faded as much. But you can add more, go back into the concentrated bits and add a bit more. And every time you do it, it'll build up a bit more color. And I'm nearly there, nearly done. The good thing about this technique is you don't have to be too careful. You can kind of do it how you like. Now, the only thing, I think the reason I'm missing people's comments so much tonight is because I'm colouring and it's taking my concentration and I'm not focused as much on your comments as I should be. So my apologies for that. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. Whoops, it actually does go this way. So if I wanted to, I could just start putting this together. But there is one more thing that I want to do. I'm actually going to dry this a little bit with my heat tool. So I'm just going to quickly, I want this to be completely dry because I'm going to add a little bit of colour. And once again, there's a number of ways we can add colour. You could use your watercolour pencils. That would add colour really quite nicely. You could use sponge daubers and a bit of ink, which always looks nice. But because there's quite a lot of fine detail on this, I'm probably going to go back to my blender pens again because I think that might be best in this case. So I'm actually going to bring in my cherry cobbler. No, that's real red. I think for this this crumb cake, I think the cherry cobbler might be better than the real red, but you could go either way. And let me decide which one I want to use. This has got the green, and this has got the red, I think. Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to use a little bit of this again, like we did before. And I'm just going to come in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just use a little bit. I don't want to use too much. I just want to use a little tiny bit. And I'm going to kind of fade it out. I'm not going to color the whole thing. I'm only going to. So this is where I'm using, if you had a wider area, like less detailed than this. So like when I did the magnolias, for example, I used sponge daubers with those because the petals were much bigger and much more open. So I was able to get away with that. But I just wanted to add a bit of color without. Now I'm going to get a bit more concentrated and do these ones here in the middle. Now the good thing about blender pens is you can go back afterwards and, as the name suggests, blend it into the bits and pieces. So I'm kind of adding a bit more concentrated color around the base of the petals, and then I'm going to go back with my blender pen and blend it out. My daughter is, because it's her birthday, she's on phone with her friends, on a Zoom call with her friends. I think they were talking about maybe playing some board games or just, you know, chatting and giggling like girls do. And I bought her, for her birthday, I bought her an Oodie. For those of you who know what an Oodie is, I bought her one with cats on it because, that was a logical choice. Okay, I'm liking this. I think it looks okay. And go a little bit softly with the colors again here. Oh, Crumpet's out in the hallway crying for someone to come and let him in. Did anyone see my picture I posted yesterday about Crumpet sticking his little ginger paws underneath the bedroom, underneath the bathroom door when I'm in there? He's so funny. All right, I think that's probably enough. I just wanted kind of a little bit of color to it. Right, and now I'm thinking I've got these lovely Christmas die. I'm going to use the Happy, I think. And I think maybe, how about, will we go gold or will we go, I think we'll go gold. I could go gold or I could go cherry cobbler, but then what do you guys think? Gold or cherry cobbler? I'm just going back through all the comments. Why does that make you nervous, Bronwyn? That's awesome. That's exactly what you want. Thanks, Michelle. I like it too. I think, and it's actually quite therapeutic using white, whether you're using blender pens or whatever. It looks really, really good. Gold. Everyone's saying gold. Okay, gold it is. Let me get my little bit of gold foil. I've got a couple of options actually. We've got I probably would have gone with the bedazzling paper, except of course we don't have that anymore. So I can just use normal old gold, or I might even have some of the antique stuff. But no, I'll just go with the normal because that's close by. And let's cut this to a size that's going to fit through our mini machine. And grab my mini machine in. Just move my mat. All right, so I'm going to use my base plate, number 1, and then these little guys, which are number 2. So I've got one number 2 here, and I'll put this here. I'm going to put my Happy onto my gold foil and my number 2 here on top. Push that in underneath and push it in until my handle starts to move. Once the handle starts to move, you can just grip it because it means that it's going to grab that plate and pull it through. And give it a wind. Oh, there's our gold Happy. That looks really good. I can see me getting a lot of uses out of these particular dies. I think they're pretty nice. All right, so this one's going to go here. Oh, the gold does look good, guys. Good choice. And then I'm thinking maybe a piece of white, which I will cut. And I think I'm going to go with the cherry cobbler. And I'm going to go, I'm thinking Happy Christmas. What do you guys think? Happy Christmas? I think that's good. They're very nice. I didn't even look at these dies from one until, like, I don't know. I was looking for something to get because I had some free product, and I thought, oh, I've got enough for a bundle. What will I get? And this was the one when I was looking for my catalog, I went, didn't notice that before. Maybe I'll get those. So I'm going to ink this up with my cherry cobbler ink, and I'm going to pop it down here towards the bottom. No, I don't like the way I ink that. I'm going to do it again. Luckily, paper has two sides and we just like to turn it over. And I'll use my mat. That'll help as well. That's my problem. Want a better image, use a mat. The other thing is when you're stamping, especially with these photopolymer stamps, just go straight down. Don't rock your stamp. I see so many people rocking their stamps and I don't know why. It's just something everybody seems to do. They hold it down and then they rock it like this. And then what can happen, it didn't then, but what can happen is if you've got any ink around the edges, that's when you're going to transfer it. When you rock your stamp, just go straight down, straight up, and you'll get much better stamped images. Who else is guilty of the rocking thing? I know, I do it. I used to do it. I don't even know why, but I've seen so many people do that. All right, so I've got my Christmas stamp. I'm just going to pop that back in there. And I'm going to cut this at just a very small cut. I'm going to do 1/2 inch. And yes, I do live in Australia, and yes, I am talking in inches, but sometimes I need to because it's the right size for certain things. So here's my scissors. I'm going to cut about 1/2 inch here and about 1/2 inch here. So it's in the middle like that. And then I'm going to grab my Pick a Banner die. I love this punch. I love it because I can flag my ends to be like concave or convex, whichever I prefer. So which way will we go today? First person to answer, the concave, this one, or the convex? And I think I've got them around the right way. If I haven't, put my excuses, my apologies. Sorry about that. Put happy on an angle? Yeah, maybe. I'm not a big angle girl, Sharon. I don't mind some things being on an angle, but I find unless I was to go completely on an angle, and make it look like I worry. I think what it is if something is slightly on an angle, I worry that someone's going to think I didn't mean to put it on an angle. But if I put it on a big angle, I could do it. So I could do that and go Happy Christmas or Happy Christmas. But if I was going to have it like this, I would probably pop it over the bottom of the piece like that. That's what I was thinking. Concave, convex, concave. Oh, different people saying different things. Well, Rose, you seem to be the first one. So I'm going to go with that. We're going to go concave. So I'm going to do one end, turn it around, and do the other. Now, I wasn't really watching then, and so see how it's gone off to one side? If that happens, pull it back so it's centered. You want them to be centered so that you get a better angle. So it's not quite perfect, but actually I don't mind it. That looks fine. So I'm actually going to, I'm thinking, will I go happy and stick it down, or will I put it on the background? No, I think in this case I'm going to stick it down. All right, so how to stick these on. Any sort of little fine things, I usually go to my multi-purpose glue, my Tombow, because it's really, really easy to put a little bit of this here and there, and that's going to be all we need to hold it. The only thing is you want to make sure that you put it on any, like what I call flappy bits. So any bits that might flap around, so like the long bits in the peas, you know, you don't want someone to be able to flap those. So there we go. So I'm going to pop this on. You hate twine. Huh. That's very very strong words there, Jenny. What do you hate about it? You don't like tying bows? I've got a lot of customers who don't like tying bows. Now, the good thing about this stuff is it's white, but it dries clear. So if you do happen to get any on your project, it will dry clear. The other thing is it's when it's wet, it's easy enough to just wipe it away. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals. I'm just going to use mini ones, I think. If I've got some handy. Here they are. I'm going to use 2 mini dimensionals behind here because no one will ever see them. And we'll take the backs off that. I'm sorry I ignored your advice, Sharon. I'm just, I do occasionally do a diagonal thing, but I just couldn't see it quite on this card. There we go, just like that. So we're going Happy Christmas. This is coming together very nicely. And the last thing I'm going to do is put some gems on. And I'm thinking, oh, which ones? I'm having a bit of a love affair with the brush metallic gems at the moment. Let me see if I've got some of those handy because I did have some. Oh, here's some. All right. So that's these ones. Really, really love these. Really, they're a little bit antique-y looking. I just love that they're not too shiny. Love, love, love that. So I'm going to go with the gold because it's going to match my embossing. So here's one. And maybe a second one over here. And a little guy up the top. There we go, just like that. All right. How are we going? What do you think, guys? Now, I did measure this to be 9.5, as I recall. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure I did. 9.5, yep. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I'm thinking probably a piece of cherry cobbler behind that. I could also use early espresso would look okay as well. But I think cherry cobbler will be really nice with this one. I'm just grabbing a piece out of my scrap drawer. Oh, look, here's one. Here's one I used earlier for something else, but hey, let's use the other side because I have a feeling it might be cut to the right size. It is. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to, you can use seal for this stage. These are the two things I usually use to attach layers of cards together, either the seal or the multi-purpose glue. The multi-purpose glue has the advantage of being wet for a little while after you apply it, which means that you can wiggle your piece into position. So I can pop it here, and if it's not completely straight, I can kind of move it into position. All right, just like that. Oh, I'm rather liking this. This turned out really nice, guys. You guys have got good taste. Okay, and then I could use a piece of white underneath because that's going to match my white embossing, or I could even go with vanilla because vanilla would kind of match in, even though this is obviously not a piece, but that would look okay as well because we've got the crumb cake there. But I have some white right here somewhere, so let me grab that. That's what's most handy. Here we go. Have I missed some comments? I maybe have. It's not working for you. The twine isn't working for you, or my card isn't working for you? What's not working for you, Miss Jenny? Could be anything, really, couldn't it? Oh, off you go, Kay. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Good to see you. All right. So now I'm going to pop some Tombow on the back of this. It's always good when I can use up some scraps from cards I started and then changed my mind about. You don't see every card I make because sometimes I'm just not happy with them. No one sees them. We all do that sometimes. But you do see me make a lot of cards live. Like, I didn't know this card was going to turn out like this when I started, but I'm actually really happy with it. I think it turned out nice. They're the two that we've made tonight with the Words of Cheer stamp set and the matching dies. Love, love, love these words. I think the words are really fantastic. Love these for scrapbooking, and I think this cheer is going to be really fun. Did you notice too that this one fits inside this one? So see, like these letters, the C is smaller than this C. So you can put this one inside this one. And I think they've done that a bit in the samples. Let's have a very quick look. Page 20. Yeah, see on this one here, I don't know if you can see the happy, they've got the white happy on a blue background, like a blue outline. So they've used the bigger one to outline the smaller one. I hope you can see that. It is a nice set, and it's one, like I said, I didn't even pay any attention to this set when I first got my catalogue, and now that I've got it, I'm really, really glad because I'm really liking the cards I'm making. And this is actually the very first time I've played with it tonight, and you guys got to see me do it, and thank you very much for your help. Oh, I hope it's not a bad injury too. That's not good. I want to hear more about that, Kay. You'll have to let me know how it goes. Well, I'm glad you like them. All right. So I hope everyone has a fantastic week. For those of you who are in my team, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And for everybody else, I'll see you on Friday night on Facebook, on my Facebook page. And of course, I'll be back here again every Sunday night. So I really, really love spending time with you today. And I hope that you all have a great week. Bye-bye.